Hello everyone and greetings from London. It's really great to be able to say a few words to you today about my experience meeting Sister Dorothy Stang back in 2003, 2 years before her death. I was in Brazil working at a conservation centre, and during that time I invited a friend, a filmmaking friend, to come out, and we wanted to make a film. Other than that, we had no plan whatsoever. So just before he arrived, I very much knew I wanted to head to the Amazon, a place I'd really heard about as a child, and I got in touch with all sorts of different organisations, including Greenpeace. During that time, I heard all about this nun who was on a death list. She was fighting to save the rainforest, but might be quite difficult to get hold of because, well, she might be in hiding. A couple of weeks later, I actually managed to get a telephone number for Sister Dorothy and immediately made a call. And it was a really short call, about 5 minutes, on a faint, crackly telephone line. She immediately started telling me about the awful destruction to the forest, or the killing of the trees as she described it, the persecution and murder of an impoverished people. Really calm, as if she'd almost been expecting my call. And just this lovely presence and passion that really pulled at my heartstrings, and it sort of became this feeling of this was my mission to go there. So I told her, okay, we'll be coming in a couple of days, and she was like, yeah, fine, I'll meet you at the priest's house. She'd arranged for us to have some accommodation. So yeah, we didn't quite realise how far it would be. About 3 or 4 days later, after a 2,500-mile journey on taxis, boats, planes, we eventually met Sister Dorothy, and it was really, really amazing. I remember a big warm hug. She gave me a rose, and immediately her delight for life was sort of emanating and shining out.
Oh, vai, como vai? Are you Sam?
I am.
Oh!
Big Brazilian hug, yeah?
I brought you a rose.
Thank you very much. It's amazing to see you.
I remember her taking us out for pizza, and starting to realise quite how serious the situation was, and she was keeping to the shadows so people wouldn't see her with us. Really getting a sense for the sort of danger, but there was always this real paradox between Sister Dorothy talking about the dangers. Like, she described how just a couple of days earlier she'd been held up at gunpoint on a bus, said that this was quite normal in these parts, and she just sort of brushed it off. And then the next minute she would say something like, the best thing to stay alive around here is drink plenty of water. Over the next few days, we sort of journeyed with Sister Dorothy and went to see some of the projects she'd set up in the forest. One of the key things was she really knew that the environmental problems were completely linked with social problems. During that journey, I think the biggest thing that really shone out was her passion. There was a time in the village, Boa Esperança, when she was talking to the people, really instilling a strength in them and a hope with her words and her passion. And after that, we all stood in a big circle and said the Lord's Prayer, and there was a big cheer. And it was amazing to see this, because there was this really fiery, strong side of Sister Dorothy. But also, when she was speaking to you normally, you would listen, because they were considered, they were wise words, and there was a real heart behind what she was saying. One of the things I really resonated with Sister Dorothy was her spirituality, in describing life as heaven, as saying there's a divine spark in us all, and also very much how she talked about the forest. She saw the magnificence of the creativity, as she would describe it, and felt God's presence in the forest, describing the forest as an intrinsic value in itself, so not just as a resource for humans, not just as a climatic stabilizer, but something deeply alive in and of itself. And this was really beautiful to hear.
We can renew the forest. Let's do it.
I think although Sister Dorothy's message was undoubtedly about trying to wake us up to our short-term exploitation of the forest, and the foolishness of that short-sightedness, it was also a real message of hope. The fact that we could all make a difference, that the forest could regenerate. I remember once her sister Dorothy bending down to a small mahogany tree that had been planted as part of her project, and touching the tree and saying, we have heart and we have mind, and this tree is giving us everything it can, but we must decide how to use this tree. And the bottom line of that was, use it sustainably.
Everybody can, in a very democratic way, can share in these world's gifts. If they've been invented, why should only a few share in them? Why can't more people share in the marvelous creativity that has come to our planet? Our people live very simply and happily without having so many things. So we have to learn to have the necessary things of life and not ask ourselves, what do we want, but what do I need?
You have on your website, the Sisters of Notre Dame, hearts as wide as the world. And I think Sister Dorothy had a heart like this, a heart that was certainly as big as the forest, as big as the people that she was serving. She'd seen injustice and she had the courage to do something about it, to take a stand with the people, to be one of them. She very much knew the secret to life was a simple delight and joy. She very much inspires me in my life in different ways, and I think Sister Dorothy is very much alive in terms of the conservation that continues in people's hearts, in all the education work that I know the Sisters of Notre Dame are doing around the world. And for myself, it was a real privilege and honour to be able to capture a few moments, a bit of Sister Dorothy's beautiful spirit. The last words from Sister Dorothy as well were, keep rowing upstream, and certainly that's something I've never forgotten.